Okay, let's do this.
I'm ready.
Let's
look to the future, gentlemen.
Baby.
The very near future. This coming weekend, Saturday, March 4th, going down in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena is UFC 285, Jones versus Gane. The card will be headlined by the returning John Bones Jones, taking on Cyril Gane for the now vacant UFC heavyweight title after it has been vacated by the champion, Francis Ngannou, when he left the UFC during contract disputes, long story short. And it's a pretty stacked card, guys. As far as pay-per-views go, this is
it's our first time being able to do the full card preview this year, right? Because we certainly didn't do it for that Volt card.
Yeah. So this card is going to have early prelims, and a main card. So let us first go through the early prelims going down on ESPN Plus and UFC Fight Pass. Let us begin. First fight of the evening, opening up the whole card in the lightweight division. We have from Argentina, Esteban. I hope I say this name right. Ribovics. Do you know? Anybody know?
I don't know.
I know that he just won on the Contender Series back in August, and he is an undefeated 26-year-old prospect out of Argentina, 11-0. All 11 fights finishes, 6 knockouts, 6 submissions. And he will be standing across a PFL veteran in Loik Radzhabov. The Jaguar Paw is his nickname, from Tajikistan. He is making his UFC debut. Mark, let me start with you. Give us your quick pick for Loik Radzhabov versus Esteban Ribovics.
All right. Radzhabov's the favorite, minus 270. Ribovics is plus 220. Gilbert Burns, I'm sure, is happy. He was very upset when Radzhabov got removed from the Ultimate Fighter, but he lands instead on UFC 285, so that's a pretty good deal. We know Loik, PFL vet. He's beaten Alex Martinez. He's beaten Chris Wade, who is actually legit. He drew with Islam Mamedov, so he's solid. I expect him to win this one. Ribovics, as you said, is a finisher, but Radzhabov is nothing if not durable, and I expect him to get this done. I will say it's not a finish with him coming in on short notice, but I will take Radzhabov UD.
Omar.
Man, I'm about to make a stupid-ass pick, but here it goes. I'm going to take the homeboy from Argentina. I'm going to take the underdog here. I think considering that Loik has never been finished, and this boy has apparently never gotten into a fight he wasn't able to finish, if I'm going to pick him to win, I'm going to pick him to be the first guy to finish this PFL vet. I think it'll be a crazy coming out party for him. I think it'll be a nice highlight reel for him, and I think he's going to catch him. I'm going to go with a KO, round 1. Let's go.
Man, I really don't. I have no place to pick this fight. I'm in no position to pick this fight because I really don't know much about Esteban. But what the heck? Why not go with the undefeated prospect who has finished all 11 of his opponents, taking on the vet? I'll side with Omar, and I'll say that that he gets it done, handing Loik his first TKO loss of his career.
Man, we're either going to look real smart or real dumb next week. One or the other.
It's the first fight on the card. No one will remember.
It's going to come and go very quickly. Okay. Moving up, fight number 2, bantamweights. We have Damon Blackshear taking on Farid Basharat. Blackshear 12-4, the 28-year-old out of North Carolina, coming off of a draw with Youssef Zalal. That was his UFC debut, so he's still looking to get his first win in the UFC. Farid Basharat just won on Contender Series. He's 9-0 prospect, 25 years old, out of London, England. Omar, give us your quick pick.
I think in this particular matchup, I'm going to go with a guy who wins on the ground, wins handedly in Farid Basharat. I think Blackshear has shown vulnerabilities on the ground. I think a lot of them have been to high-intensity guys, but I think Basharat's jiu-jitsu should be good enough to come away with a submission victory round 2.
Mark?
So Basharat's a big favorite in his debut, minus 460. Blackshear is plus 350.
Jesus.
I liked him on Blackshear. He's been around. He's fought some relevant guys in some different promotions. And after his debut draw with Youssef Zalal, I was kind of thinking in my head, like, I'm going to pick this dude in his next fight. But then they put him in there against the Basharat, and I fucking love Javid Basharat. So if Farid is anything like Javid, I'm going to have to believe in the talent here. And from what you read about the man and the clips you see, he looks to be. So I will say Farid Basharat. Blackshear has never been finished, so I'll say UD.
Once again, I'm sorry, folks. Don't bet your money based off my picks, because I also don't know Basharat very well. But once again, I'm going to roll with the undefeated guy who has subbed more than half of his opponents. I'll say
Let's
that
go.
he gets it done by submission. Once again, handing Blackshear his first finished loss of his career. Okay, fight number 3, straw weights, the ladies here. We have Jessica Penne taking on Tabatha Ricci. Jessica Penne has been on the scene for a minute. She is the 40-year-old out of Huntington Beach, California, 14-6 as a pro, 8 subs on her record, looking to get back in the win column after a loss to Emily Ducote, taking on the rising prospect Tabatha Ricci, the baby shark herself out of São Paulo, Brazil. She's coming off back-to-back wins over Maria Oliveira and Pauliana Viana. A lot of Brazil there. Mark, start us off. Give us your quick pick.
So Baby Shark is the favorite. She's minus 300. Jessica Penne is plus 240. Penne certainly is going to have the size advantage. She's 4 inches taller. She's going to have a 5-inch reach. She is, as you said, also a 40-year-old woman fighting a 28-year-old on the come-up. So that's a factor. I do think it's closer than the odds suggest. I think if we get some grappling exchanges, that could be really interesting. Kind of the wrestling strength of Ricci against the jiu-jitsu of Penne. If it's striking, I do wonder if Ricci is too small to like land well, because she's honestly really, really small. So, and also I want to say that Penne beat Lupi Godinez a couple years back, and I kind of feel like Ricci is really similar to Lupi Godinez. So there's a lot of things that are like pushing me to say go with the underdog in Penne, but I just keep coming back to the fact that she's 40, and I feel like it's probably starting to go the other way for her. So I'm just going to go with the youth and the power and strength of Ricci and say that maybe she can kind of toss Penne around a little bit. So Ricci UD.
Omar.
Yeah. I like Ricci striking. I think the one thing that they're going to differ in when it comes to the striking is Ricci likes to put a lot of things together. She likes to use a lot of combos. Penne might have a shot here and there. I worry about more if she's able to get her to the ground, what Penne might be able to do. But striking, I think Ricci will be able to come inside, and I think she'll be able to close the distance. I don't think Penne's ever really been supremely elite when it came to the distance management using her length and her reach. So I'm gonna go with Tabatha Ricci. I think she's gonna have a lot more moments in this fight. Wouldn't be surprised if Penne's able to scratch a round out in this 3-round fight. But I'm gonna go with Ricci by unanimous decision.
Honestly, this is a tricky fight to pick, but hey, we're still on the early prelims, so we shouldn't labor over this too much. I'll play the opposite here for the attributes. I don't know why I'm picking a 40-year-old fighter, but for the attributes alone, I think Penne, for her size and her jiu-jitsu prowess, is going to negate a lot of Tabatha Ricci, and I'm going to say that she gets it done by unanimous decision, giving Ricci a little heat check in her early career. Okay, moving on to the bantamweights here on the men's side. Leo Martinez Manaboy taking on Cameron Saaiman. Martinez out of Houston, Texas, the 26-year-old he is, 10-3 as a professional with 8 knockouts on his record. He himself has never been knocked out. He's coming off of a win over Brandon Davis back in October by split decision. Cameron Saaiman, the 22-year-old undefeated prospect out of Pretoria, South Africa. That is a hard accent to do. You ever try to do South African? He is 7-0 once again. Bears repeating. 22-year-old 7-0 prospect. 5 knockouts, 1 sub on his record. Never been defeated, never been finished. Omar, start us off. Oh, by the way, it's his second fight in the UFC. He won a Contender Series and then won his UFC debut, both by knockout.
Yeah, dude, and he's good, man. You know, he's definitely good. He's got promise, and the real issue for me is more, I think, from the Leo Mana side, right? Like Mana Martinez, I wanted to like him when he first came in. He had a story, fighting for his coach that recently passed away, and the whole bit, and showed a lot of heart in his fights, 100%. But 3 fights into the UFC, and I haven't really seen a lot of vast improvement in his game and his approach. And I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think this is the fight where he's going to make that leap or that jump. And I think Cameron is probably bound to rack up another KO here. To Mana's credit, he hasn't been finished in the UFC. I don't know if he's been finished at all, actually. He's been subbed once. But I can tell you right now that Cameron is a person with hands that you definitely don't want landing clean. But I think that's what happens in this fight. So I'm going to go with KO, round 1 for Cameron.
Mark, give it to us.
Yeah, Cameron's almost 3-1 favorite. He's minus 290. Mana is plus 240. Mana will be a bit bigger. He's 2 inches taller, 3.5-inch reach. But I think Saaiman is a real prospect. I think that he's just the cleaner fighter here. Mana is sometimes more trying to brawl. And I just don't think I forget if it might be Saaiman. I forget how he says it. It's bothering me that I can't remember. But
I watched the intros of the last fight, and they were all saying Saaiman.
Oh, they were? Okay. So, with that said, yeah, I don't think Saaiman allows the brawl. I think he's just too clean. I think he could honestly finish this striking or on the mat. If it ever was competitive in the striking, I think he could just take it down. So, yeah, I'm on him by some type of finish. For the sake of the pick, I will say it's a sub.
Woo. Yeah, I like Saaiman as well. See, I just did it, Saaiman. I think there's something about him. I think we're going to be saying that this guy's could be special before the end of the year. Who knows what his record might be? It's still only March 1st right now. He could be close to 10-0 maybe by the end of this calendar year in the UFC. Still be 22. He turns 23 in December. So, Jesus. He was born in the year 2000. Holy shit, I'm old. Having one of those senior moments. Yeah, I'll take Saaiman by TKO round 2. Moving on. Yet another. There are so many undefeated guys putting their O on the line in this pay-per-view. Yet another one. Young prospect Ian the Future Garry taking on Kenan Song. So Ian Garry, the 25-year-old 10-0 fighter out of Dublin, Ireland. Came onto the UFC scene. They seem to be really hyping him up whenever he's on a card. He's a new fresh face out of Dublin. He is the opposite of Conor McGregor. He is like the sweetest kid you've ever seen. And let's see. Of his 10 wins, 5 have come by way of knockout. 1 submission added to that. He's taking on Kenan, the Assassin Song, out of China, coming off of a loss against Max Griffin back in March. His record stands at 19-6. Mark, start us off. Give us your quick pick. Garry versus Song.
All right, Garry is minus 775, and Song is plus 525, which illustrates why this is a dumb fucking fight. And I'm not saying Ian Garry can't lose, because it's not like Ian Garry is some can't-miss killer necessarily, but we should just be past this. He has beat better guys than this already. I don't know why we are not past this point. And I think he passes this test and does it in style. He's 3 inches taller. He's going to have a 2.5-inch reach. I think he puts that to use. I don't think this is much different than what we've seen from Ian Garry, but I think it's maybe even a little bit easier. It certainly should be easier than his last opponent in Gabe Green. I think that he finishes Song. I think Song's aggression ends up getting him in trouble. I just think Gary's timing and his ability to pick his shots is really high level, and I think he puts put Song down. So I will say round 2 KO for Ian Garry.
Omar.
Yeah, I wonder if what they're trying to do is maybe give Garry a chance to style on somebody, get some highlights or something. Because this does seem like a very random fight. I mean, the Kenan Song has fought 2, 4, 6 guys in the UFC, has beaten a few of these guys. He's beaten 4 of them.
He's 4-2, but all his wins are against nobodies.
Guys who have literally all never gotten a win in the UFC. There's one guy who has 1 win in the UFC. They've all either lost 3 or more in the UFC. So literally against guys who have never even made it, really. So it doesn't really hold any weight, and it's very odd. And then obviously his 2 losses are to guys with names, Max Griffin and Alex Morono. Ian Garry should win this fight. It's going to be very, very disconcerting if he doesn't win this fight. I hope he does. I hope he does style on him. I hope we get to a point where we're like, okay, now he's ready for the actual real next step from here. So I'm going to go with Ian Garry. I also am going to go with KO. But I do think he likes to take his time and he likes to play with his food. I'm going to go to round 3.
Yeah, man. It runs the risk of Ian Garry losing this fight, which would be absolutely devastating for
an absolute
waste. It's how I felt about the Tyson Pedro fight when I was like, why are we here right now? And that's how this feels.
Because it's still, it's still a fight. And Kenan Song has 19 wins on his record. So he's not literally a paper bag, man. But you got to take Garry in this spot. I mean, the odds reflect that. So I'll take Garry, and just for some variety, I'll say round 1 knockout.
We've got every round covered.
Let's go, Ian Garry. Okay. Jumping up now into the prelims, UFC 285. Here we go in the middleweight division. Julian Marquez taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis. What a nickname. Jesus. 32-year-old out of Missouri. He is, Kansas City, Missouri, Mark. Kansas City Mo.
Yeah, there you go.
He's 9-3 as a pro. Looking to get back in the win column after a loss to Gregory Hobocop Rodriguez back in June. Across the cage will be Marc-Andre Barriault, power bar, out of Quebec, 33 years old, 14-6 as a pro, 1 no contest. Also looking to get back in the win column after a loss this past September to Anthony Hernandez. That's Fluffy, right? That's Fluffy Hernandez?
Yep.
Who's the other Hernandez I get confused with? Alexander
Hernandez.
Yeah, it's the A. Obviously very different guys, but I see the A and then Hernandez. I'm like, which
one can fight for an hour and one sometimes can't go past 5 minutes.
It's true. Mark, sticking with you, start us off. Marc-Andre Barriault versus Marquez.
So this is a close fight. I think that this actually might be the fight that I struggled the most with on the whole card in terms of who I thought would win. Odds are pretty tight. Barriault is the favorite, -155. Marquez is the dog at +125. They're basically the same size. What I find interesting here is that I feel like Barriault is always winning like moments in fights always winning like over periods in fights until he fucks something up and it goes south. And I feel like Julian Marquez is always losing fights until he pulls some shit out and gets a head kick or a sub or something. So it's like they're made to see who breaks through here. I do wonder about the pace. Barriault keeps a really high pace, and I wonder if Marquez can deal with that for all 15 without slipping. And I wonder if that kind of saps him of his ability for a big moment because of how much he has to work as the fight is going on. But I'm not sold on either guy, but I'm more so not sold on Barriault, I think, thus far in his run. And I just see Marquez as the more dangerous guy who could find something. So I will say that he ends up at least hurting Barriault a couple times and takes the cards because of it.
Okay, Omar, your turn.
Yeah, I definitely think Marquez is going to be the one who comes out on top. I do think this is one of those fights that's going to be very sloppy. You probably get one really solid round out of them from a technical standpoint. I don't think Julian Marquez is, excuse me, particularly technical to begin with. But I think you'll see the most technique out of them in the first round. Once they start getting wild and they start throwing and landing and all kinds of stuff by the second and third round, I think we'll start to see them slow down. And I think it'll end up getting really sloppy. And in those situations, I trust Marquez a little bit more. He seems to thrive in the sloppiness, in the chaos. So I'm going to go with Marquez by unanimous decision.
A tricky fight to pick, in my opinion. Evenly matched in certain ways. Similar age, similar size. I'm going to go with the power edge here. Marc-Andre Barriault with the 9 knockouts on his record. I'll say that he gets him out of there. I'm going to say there's going to be fireworks in round 1, and I'll say that he gets a TKO towards the end of the first round. All right, let's move on.
There's no result of that fight that would surprise me, really.
Sure. Yeah.
Barriault sub, I guess. But every result other than that is like, yeah, I can see it.
Flyweight fight, fun one. Viviane Araujo versus Amanda Ribas. This is a fan favorite fight right here. Vivi Araujo. This is a Brazil on Brazil fight. So Araujo out of Brazil. She is the 36-year-old, 11-4 as a pro, coming off of a loss against Alexa Grasso, who is also appearing on this card tonight. That loss was back in October. She will be standing across from Amanda Ribas, the 29-year-old out of Brazil, who is 10-3 as a professional. 2 knockouts, 4 subs on her record. Also coming off of a loss and looking to get back in the win column. Suffering a loss against Caitlin Chookagian by a split decision back in May of 2022. Omar, start us off this time. Give us your pick and your take of Ribas versus Araujo.
So for me, this one was the one that was tough for me to pick. Thinking about the two of them, they both bring something to the table when it comes to the threat in the fight. Amanda Ribas is a very technical fighter, a lot of movement, a lot of volume, a lot of sharp punches. And Araujo is a tank. She's a panzer. That woman will literally throw bombs. She can definitely hurt Amanda Ribas for sure, but she has to land. And I think that's where Amanda Ribas may particularly excel. Is in the movement, in the slipping, in the dodging, in the countering, returning on shots that she's able to dodge. I think her boxing and her Muay Thai is just a little bit sharper. Araujo gives me a lot of Jessica Andrade vibes, right? Where you're throwing big wild hooks from the hip. We're not really super into technique. We're just trying to smash this girl's face into the ground. And I think with women who can take advantage of their movement, of the movement of the fight, and set a pace, I think that she's going to be the one that comes out on top. So I'm going to go with Amanda Ribas by unanimous decision. I think Araujo is too tough to be finished in this particular instant. But I do think that Ribas comes out on top.
How do you take a decision?
Decision, unanimous.
Okay. Mark, go ahead.
Okay, this is the tightest fight on the card, odds-wise. Amanda Ribas is minus 125, and Viviane Araujo is plus 105. Small size advantages for Araujo, 2 inches of reach, 1 inch of height. The power and strength of Araujo concerns me a bit, especially because most of where we've seen Ribas is at 115, so you already got to factor in she's having her second fight at 125 now. Her first one was against Chookagian. Not exactly known for the strength and power, whereas Araujo is. So it's kind of like a double step up for Ribas, I would say here. But I don't pick against Amanda Ribas unless she is fighting the elite. I think she is perennially underrated. I think she has a lot of talent. I think she is getting more and more comfortable standing in every fight. I think she's starting to get dangerous standing. I think her jits is still top shelf. There's going to be scrambles here. Araujo is hard to hold down. She can be a beast at times, but I just think Ribas' jiu-jitsu is so good technique-wise that she can lean on it, and I will take her to win a decision.
The odds reflect the trickiness of picking this fight. You have the technical prowess of Ribas and the strength and power of Araujo. But Araujo's old, like me. She's actually like born like a month right after me. And so that also gives me some pause because she's bigger, but she's also a bit older, and she's getting a little long in the tooth. Ribas isn't even 30 yet, and she is the much more technical fighter, which I love about her, and I'm also a big fan of hers. I'm going to go with her in this fight, not with a ton of confidence, because if Araujo dings her and gets her in trouble, I would not be surprised. But I will roll with Ribas. I think that she's going to stay safe throughout this fight, and she's going to use her skills to roll to a unanimous decision victory. It's going to be a don't miss that fight kind of a fight.
Sorry, Mike, I had a text come through. I glanced at. I heard all that except who you picked at the end. Who'd you say by decision?
Ribas.
Ribas, okay.
Okay, let's move on to the middleweight division. Derek Brunson taking on Dricus du Plessis. This is an interesting fight as well, man. You have the veteran in Brunson taking on the rising du Plessis. So here we go. Brunson, the 39-year-old out of Wilmington, North Carolina, 23-8 as a professional with 12 knockouts, 4 subs added to that. He was on a 5-fight win streak up until 2021 until Jared Cannonier snapped that win streak with a devastating knockout. Also, that was a bit of a weird performance from Derek Brunson. Standing across from him will be Dricus du Plessis. Still Knox is the nickname, out of South Africa. He is 18-2 as a pro. Did I mention he's 29 years old? And he is riding a 6-fight win streak. 4-0, excuse me. 4-0 in the UFC so far. So undefeated in the UFC. And the man is on a tear. Most recently, he defeated Darren Till by submission via face crank. Very frustrating performance from Darren Till, as we touched on back in December, and now he is out of the UFC. But that's that. Now, du Plessis gets to move on and face the formidable and awkward Derek Brunson. So, Omar, why don't you start us off this time?
It's a very interesting fight, I think, stylistically, too, because Derek Brunson tends to rely on his wrestling to some extent, especially when his hands are not working. And Dricus du Plessis likes to take things to the ground. I think he feels more comfortable down there in general. I don't think he's afraid to strike, but I do think that that's something that he prefers to do. And I don't know if Derek Brunson's going to be the one to get away with that. Derek Brunson does have really good takedown defense. He's not the best at getting back up once you actually get him on his back, but he's not terribly easy to get down in the first place. And so I wonder how much investment du Plessis is going to play into the takedown, how much striking is going to be involved. Is Brunson going to try to take down du Plessis? I think it's all very, very interesting from a stylistic standpoint. With all that being said, I'm going to go with Derek Brunson here. I don't normally, I think, ever pick Derek Brunson. But I'm going to go with Derek Brunson here. I think his experience in the octagon, his variety of looks that he's had in the octagon, I don't think Dricus du Plessis necessarily presents anything terribly new. And I think if Brunson focuses, properly dyes his hair for Super Saiyan mode, I think he can get it done. So I'm going to go with Brunson by unanimous decision.
Mark.
Yeah, this is a weird fight, man. It's hard to read. It certainly feels like it should be a main card fight. It feels like a big deal fight. I mean, these are high level middleweights here. Okay, so I'll give you the lines. Dricus is minus 240 as the favorite, which is wider than I ever expected it to be. Yeah, Brunson is plus 190 dog.
Wow.
They are basically the same size, 1 inch each for Brunson. I'm having a hard. There's a lot of things going through my mind about this fight. I wanted to pick Brunson out of the gate, just because I feel like there is a ceiling on Dricus's game, and I was like, maybe we're at that level now where he gets exposed. But then the more I thought about it, I kind of started thinking about a lot of different things. I thought about the fact that Brunson sometimes has these lapses in there in moments of the fight where he gets a little lazy. And Dricus is on for all 15 minutes. Doesn't matter how tired he is. The dude is coming. He goes. So that's a concern. He's also not easy to deter. And sometimes I feel like Brunson doesn't do as well when he can't have a guy backing up or he can't implement the wrestling with as much efficiency as he wants to. And that when someone's kind of in his face and not wilting the way he wants him to wilt, that Brunson can panic a little bit and get even more sloppy. Both of these guys are sloppy strikers, which is going to be interesting to see too. Dricus has a really nice guillotine. I could see that being in play. I think his grappling is something that he showed a lot pre-UFC. We haven't seen a ton of it yet in the UFC. But with Brunson shooting, I could see Dricus snatching up a guillotine. There's angles. I feel like if you're going to pick Brunson, what it comes down to is, do you trust Brunson to out-wrestle du Plessis for 15 minutes? And if you don't, I feel like it's a little hard to pick him. With that said, like I was just saying, they can both be sloppy. As much as Dricus is coming for you, he'll swing wildly sometimes, and Brunson carries power too, so he could absolutely catch Dricus in one of these exchanges. It's one of these fights where I could see it being super close for 15 minutes, or I could see one guy kind of dust the other guy and make you look stupid if you pick the other way. So, I don't know. It's a hard one. I'm going to go Dricus just by will and not stopping this. That's kind of where I'm landing in having to pick a winner here.
It's a good take.
I could even see him tap Brunson. I really could.
I'm
going to say he taps Brunson. Round 3, guillotine.
Oh.
I think that's a great pick.
I thought you were saying by strikes. I was like, Jesus.
No.
Yeah, I'm on the one hand, I'm surprised that the odds are that far. There's going to be a lot of money on Brunson because of that, and that's the whole point, I guess. I'm not a betting man, so I don't understand it that well. But that performance that Derek Brunson turned in against Jared Cannonier made me lose quite a bit of confidence in him going forward. That was such a fucking weird performance. And he seemed to just gas so terribly. I wonder if part of it was that he was so worried about Cannonier's power, that, to your point, Mark, which I totally agree with, that when Cannonier wasn't going away and Brunson wasn't having his way and he wasn't finding any kind of finish or anything close to it, he kind of just, I don't want to say he gave up. The guy's a goddamn UFC fighter, but he panicked, he gassed, his motor just completely melted out of his body. And that's, I think, is going to happen against du Plessis, because du Plessis doesn't have the best gas tank in MMA, man. He's a big guy from middleweight. He carries a lot of muscle. Against Till, I thought that du Plessis looked tired and sloppy at times. But to echo you, Mark, again, du Plessis can look tired, but he still has this sort of like unbending spirit, this unbreakable spirit. So yeah, I'll go du Plessis. I'll say he he gets a TKO round 2.
Wow. Yeah.
Did we all
pick
du Plessis? No, did you pick Brunson, Omar?
I
Omar's
picked
on
Brunson.
You man. Okay. Yeah, that was fucking.
Yeah, they're not going to get much easier as we go here.
No, they're really not.
Okay, bantamweights. Cody Garbrandt taking on Trevin Jones. Cody Garbrandt. Cody No Love. A 31-year-old out of Ohio. He's 12-5 now as a professional. That's a crazy record to say for a guy who was a former champion.
Yeah.
Was he like 7-1 when he won the belt?
It was something small like that.
I literally just pulled them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-0 when he took the belt.
Wow.
Like that win made him 11-0.
Wow.
And then he's lost 5. And then he's lost 5 out of 6.
He's lost 5 of his 6.
The real crazy shit is that was probably the easiest fight he had was against Dominic Cruz.
He looked amazing,
dude.
He looked great.
It
He
was one of
stomped
the most like coronation type title fights I can remember, which is what makes it so funny. Like it was like, oh my god, I just watched the guy who's going to be the champion for an era, and then he fucking basically never won another fight. Like,
Yeah,
It's wild.
crazy.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. He's back again in the octagon this Saturday. Cody No Love, of his 12 victories in the octagon, 10 have come by way of knockout. He will be standing across Trevin Jones, 5-star, out of Guam, the 32-year-old. 13-9 with 1 no contest, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions. He is very much looking to get back in the win column, coming off of a 3-fight losing streak, most recently losing a unanimous decision against Raoni Barcelos. Mark, start us off here. Give us your take. Cody No Love, is this going to be the beginning of a new run for Garbrandt, or is Trevin Jones going to best the former champ?
It's another tough one. I mean, picking Cody Garbrandt fights at this point in time are just throwing a dart. Like, there's not even so much analysis that even makes sense to go through. It's just whether you think his chin is going to hold up. He is the favorite here, interestingly. He is minus 175. Trevin Jones is plus 140. Cody will be 1 inch taller, but as we see a lot from him, he's going to be at a 4.5-inch reach disadvantage, which is not a great sign for him, I would say. It's another tough one, man. Trevin Jones, his record is only 13-9, which is not thrilling. He has lost 3 in a row, but if you look at it, the 3 that he has lost recently are Saidjikub Kakramanov, who recently got cut, which is a joke because he's so good. Javid Basharat, who's great. And Raoni Barcelos, who's great. Before that, this is a dude in Trevin Jones who knocked out Mario Bautista and who knocked out Timur Valiev, who are both very good themselves. So, like, he is a guy who has proven his KO power. And now he's across from a dude who's getting KO'd all the time. So, it's kind of hard for me to not go Trevin Jones here. One of these days, does Cody bounce back and get it done, and we're all happy to see it, and maybe he gets back on the train? Yeah, it could absolutely happen. But Trevin is an athlete. He can move with Cody. Maybe he won't be as fast, but I think he's fast enough. He's going to have the reach, and he has the power to do it. So I'll go Trevin Jones by knockout. Round 2.
Woo. Omar.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think Cody Garbrandt has been working. I can't imagine that this dude has not been in the octagon and hasn't been doing the work in the gym. I know he's a dad now, or at least sometime in the last couple of years or whatever the hell. I don't know if he's got 2 kids now or if he's just got the one that's actually starting to grow now. I'm not really sure. I just know that he's now Dad Garbrandt. And we've had the discussion here before. Usually when guys have a kid, sometimes things change. Priorities change. He's not in the back yelling burger with the boys anymore. Hanging with the boys. So maybe Garbrandt has turned a corner here. Maybe he's finally put all his skills in the right spot. I know he's been out for a while, but I don't know if I'm ready, and I know Mark has felt like this about other people. I don't know if I'm ready to be in the world where Cody Garbrandt loses to a Trevin Jones. On short notice, no less. Relatively short notice, because this is supposed to be Julio Arce. So I'm going to go with Cody Garbrandt here, and I'm going to go with KO round 2.
Yeah, to your point, just real quick before you go, Mike, his losses are TJ, Pedro Munoz, Rob Font, and Kai Kara-France. So, like, if he loses this one, it will absolutely be the one where it's like, oh, fuck, Cody Garbrandt. Yeah. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
This is, again, another one, though, where I'm also interested in the performance itself. Like, are we not as good as we once were? Did you get clipped? Like, I guess there's a lot of questions to be answered. He's been out for a long time.
For a guy who styled on Dominic Cruz so badly, yeah, I mean, look, I've lost all confidence in picking Garbrandt at this point. I really have.
Yikes.
And other than the Assunção knockout. Yeah, it's not that I'm picking Trevor Jones. I'm just picking against Cody Garbrandt. I hate to say it. I hate to sound mean. Yeah, I'll take Trevin Jones round 1 knockout. I think it's going to happen towards the end of round 1.
God damn.
It's just going to happen. I think it's just going to happen. And question, not Omar, because Omar picked Cody, but for Mark. Cody loses. Does he retire? Or does he go, or does he leave the UFC?
I don't think he retires. It wouldn't shock me if the UFC says that's going to be it. Wow. It seems wild, but like 6 out of 7 is a lot of losing.
Yeah.
And that Rafael Assunção one, that was as Hail Mary as they get, because that motherfucker telegraphed that one for everybody to see everywhere. And Assunção was like, no, you're good. Go ahead. Hit me. It was weird.
Yeah, I do think this is ending in a knockout. I think that's the safest bet.
I also agree there. I do agree there.
Okay, moving on.
I think I picked decision, but
another interesting one. Another young, undefeated prospect, Bo Nickal. Are we on the main card yet? Is this
we are.
This is it.
Main card opener, Bo Nickal, baby, opening a pay-per-view in his debut.
The one and only, taking on Jamie Pickett. So Bo Nickal of Dana White's Contender Series fame. He is the 27-year-old undefeated 3-0 prospect out of College State, Pennsylvania. Or, excuse me, State College, Pennsylvania. Yeah, he's a former collegiate wrestler who was a phenom in wrestling, and now he's a 6'1" middleweight who is just cutting through dudes like a hot knife through butter. He won on Contender Series. People wanted him to get called up. They didn't. And then he won again on Contender Series, once again in dominant fashion. And now he is here, taking on Jamie Pickett, the Night Wolf, the 34-year-old out of Greenville, North Carolina. He is 13-8 as a professional with 8 knockouts on his record. And he's looking to get back in the win column against Bo Nickal because he's coming off back-to-back losses against Kyle Dawkins and Dennis Tululian. Omar, start us off. Give us your assessment. Will Bo Nickal continue to rise over the veteran Pickett?
It's so interesting. I just realized that Mark sent all the rankings to us a little while ago, and Pickett at number 53. I don't know when that happened, but there we are.
My man is 2-4.
Yeah, no, it's not great. I'm looking at his resume now. It's not great, man.
Got beat by some shaky fighters.
And he beat some fighters that don't really have any value behind them. So, yeah, I get it. With all that being said, man, Bo Nickal has a lot of promise. His performances, I think, have been quite exceptional as well. It'll be interesting to see him step onto the main stage. I can see why they gave... I mean, this man has significantly more experience inside of the octagon, for sure. In MMA in general, for sure. I don't know how much it's going to play into it, though. I do wonder about the crowd. This is the first time that I think Bo Nickal is going to be in front of a sold-out arena, there to see John Jones, main card. People are actually asses in seats by that point. So there's a lot of factors here that I think will be interesting to see how Bo Nickal reacts to them. I think he rises to the occasion. I think he seems like the kind of guy that is waiting for an opportunity to break out. And I think he'll be able to do it against Jamie Pickett. I don't see Jamie Pickett, other than the experience, really presenting a ton of issues for Bo Nickal, at least not on paper. So I'm going to go with Bo Nickal by submission, round 2.
Okay.
So, if you are listening and you happen to not know Bo Nickal, he is one of the most decorated collegiate wrestlers of a generation. He was the silver medalist in the NCAA championships as a freshman, and then won gold as a sophomore, a junior, and a senior. And in his senior season, also won gold in the U.S. National Championships and in the Under-23 World Championships. The dude is incredible when it comes to the wrestling. He then, on Dana White's Contender Series, showed off some knockout power as well, and is probably one of the most can't-miss prospects to enter MMA in quite some time, which is reflected in the odds here, considering he is minus 1,700. Jamie Pickett is plus 900.
Oh, my God.
I do think that Bo Nickal is that good, that he deserves that. I will be shocked if he does not at least reach top 10 status as a UFC middleweight, if not significantly higher than that. As far as the matchup goes, Pickett is 1 inch taller. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. As you guys alluded to, he is the more experienced fighter. I don't think it matters. I think that he gets taken down fairly quickly. Maybe he gets up once, probably not. And I think he's tapping in round 1. So I will say Bo Nickal, round 1 submission.
Okay, Omar.
I went. I will add, though, that I feel like
Oh,
I see Jamie Pickett doing a lot of defending in the first round, but I think he'll have enough gas to get through it. By the time the second round starts, I think Jamie Pickett's going to be mouth open, trying to get every bit of oxygen he can, and that, I think, is when that submission comes.
I think Jamie Pickett is the sacrificial lamb and is very good matchmaking if your intention is to have Bo Nickal get over on somebody who is a veteran, who is has a good physique, a good look. It's going to be an impressive win in that sense, but doesn't have the skills to match up with Bo Nickal. And I agree. I think Bo Nickal is going to get him out of there in round 1. I'll say midway through round 1. Bo Nickal is having his hand raised. I will say another submission victory for Bo Nickal. I'll say probably a rear naked choke or arm triangle or something.
I will say Bo Nickal talks a lot, man, and it'll be interesting to see if his performance is dominant here against Pickett. How far up do you shoot him? Like, just based on shit talking alone and his performances, you might be able to skyrocket him.
He talks shit about Adesanya and Pereira.
I was going to say, he's been talking about Chimaev from day one. My man shoots for the stars. Like, he literally is like, yeah, it's inevitable. I'm going to be fighting Chimaev. Like, it's very, like...
And I got to be honest,
man,
there's a lot of guys you could kind of tell are saying it because they're being asked and this, that, and the other. Bo Nickal wholeheartedly believes he will run through these guys. Whether that's true or not is not even the point. Bo Nickal believes it to be true. That's a scary motherfucker.
I don't think we're gonna learn so much about what his ceiling is until he is across from a guy who has the chance to stop some takedowns and force striking exchanges.
Sure.
And Jamie Pickett's not that guy.
Yeah.
Man, him versus Chimaev at 185 pounds. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Just the wrestling.
I was like, that's somebody who could stop a takedown.
Yeah.
And I'm never one to be super excited about a wrestler's delight, but in that case, it would be.
Imagine if Bo Nickal just ankle picks Chimaev.
Dude.
Okay, moving on to the lightweight division. A very exciting fight for MMA purists all around. Mateusz Garbrandt versus Jalen Turner. Okay, Mateusz. Is it Mateusz?
Yep.
The gamer, Garbrandt. the 32-year-old out of Poland, 21-2 as a pro, 1 no contest, 7 knockouts, 5 subs. He is coming off of a UD loss to Beneil Dariush back in October. Looking to hop right back into the win column against Jalen Turner, the Tarantula, out of San Bernardino, California. He is 27 years old and 13-5 as a pro with 9 knockouts on his record. And he is sailing on a 5-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Omar, start us off once again.
So just as a reminder that Mateusz Garbrandt is a relatively short notice replacement for Dan Hooker. Hooker was supposed to be taking this spot here, and I believe he got injured. Either way, this is still a great fight, for sure. Jalen Turner is a monster, man. I've said it for quite some time now, that Jalen Turner is that dude. I think Jamie Malarkey was the one where I think you guys possibly had picked Jamie Malarkey. I can't remember, but Jalen Turner smoked him too, man. Jalen Turner is a real good prospect in that division. I think he's right where he needs to be. I think this fight is going to be one of those ones that's going to be very high paced. Mateusz Garbrandt loves to push a high pace. Beneil Dariush was willing to play a lot more of Gamrot's game in the rolling and the scrambles and all that other kind of stuff. And I think Dariush was just better than him. Turner, I think at this point, Jalen has a lot of ability to stop takedowns because of his length and his size. He has a lot of ability to reverse things because he is a very smart fighter. But I wonder if he can keep up the pace. He hasn't shown any reason for me to believe otherwise, if we're being wholly honest. But Mateusz Garbrandt has a hell of a pace. I'm going to stick with Jalen Turner here. I do think that he comes out on top. I think he sleeps him. I think he sleeps Garbrandt, 3rd round KO.
What are these odds, Mark?
Want to guess?
Are they tight? They got to be tight. Pretty tight. Is Garbrandt the favorite by a slight margin?
Gamrot's the favorite?
More. Is he?
Garbrandt is minus 215.
Wow. Okay.
Jalen Turner plus 175, and that's on short notice.
That's
maybe that factors into it, to be honest, in that Jalen Turner was preparing for a Dan Hooker and now has to shift gears for a complete wrestling scramble fest in a short amount of time. So maybe that's a factor in those odds. And that's kind of where my mind is going. Obviously, as we've said, Jalen Turner is the much bigger man, 5 inches taller, 5 inches of reach. The size always makes him dangerous. His ability to catch guys when they think they're out of range and they are not. But I think I'm just coming back to the wrestling. I think about that Matt Frivola loss that Jalen Turner has on his record, where he kind of just got held down and out-wrestled. I know that was 4 years ago now. There's been, you would think, a lot of progression in Jalen Turner's game since then. But I don't think we've seen another opponent who fits that mold where he could have proved it, that he has shored that up. And that's why I'm struggling here, because I'd like to assume that he has. But Garbrandt is just so relentless and such a great scrambler, and the short notice where Turner, I don't think, has had a ton of time to prepare for this type of matchup. I just think he might be spending too much time on his back to end up winning this fight. I'm torn. I'm not a huge Garbrandt guy either, but I think I just see the wrestling being the differentiator here. I'll say Garbrandt UD.
Yeah, I think there is a greatness to Garbrandt that is kind of undeniable at this point. I think his record reflects that. There's a couple of things that would be firsts in this fight. Garbrandt has never been finished, and Jalen Turner has never won a fight by decision. So It's a case of what do you say? The unstoppable force meets the immovable object.
Yes.
So Jalen Turner has never been in a fight that's gone to the distance that he has won. So if he's not knocking you out earlier in the fight, then he could lose. And he has been knocked out himself. And Gamrot's never been finished. I think Gamrot has too many skills. I think his skill set is going to overcome the size difference between the two of them. And I think it's going to be a scramble fest like Mark said. And I think that Gamrot is going to wear Turner down. He's going to weather the early storm. And he's going to finish Jalen Turner in the third round by TKO. That's the pick. And, man, I'm a Jalen Turner guy. That guy's must-see TV. And for the size that he has at 155 pounds, I root for him, man. I do. But Gamrot's so good.
Yeah, Turner's interesting as hell. Like, if he could pull this one off, he's...
Oh, we're going. We're going.
Yeah.
The train is going. Okay, let's move on to the welterweight division. Yet another undefeated, I guess you can still kind of call him a prospect-ish, putting his undefeated record on the line in being Shavkat Rakhmonov, taking on Jeff Neal. So Jeff Neal, Hands of Steel, out of Texas, 32 years old, and it comes into the weekend with a professional record, 19 fights, 15 victories. Of those 15 victories, 9 by knockout. He's coming off of back-to-back wins against Santiago Ponzinibbio and Vicente Luque. He will be standing across from the Nomad, Shavkat Rakhmonov, from Kazakhstan. He is 28 years old, undefeated, 16-0, 16 fights, none have gone the distance. All finishes. Even 8 knockouts, 8 submissions. He is now 4-0 in the UFC. Once again, all finishes. Most recently finishing Neil Magny in round number 2 by guillotine. Mark, let's start with you. Give us your take and your pick, and please tell me these odds.
Shavkat Rakhmonov is minus 530.
Whew.
Jeff Neal is plus
Jeff Neal.
390.
Over Jeff Neal.
Yeah.
Dude,
mean,
That's so crazy.
I thought you were going to say minus 5,000 for a minute, and I was going to be like, so.
I mean, that's what happens when you don't lose any rounds. You become a big favorite, man. I wrote down here 2-inch height advantage, 2-inch reach advantage, and I didn't write down who it's about. So that's not the most helpful stat in the world. Let's see. It is about Shavkat, correct? Yes, it's about Shavkat. I figured that. Okay, he's got the 2-inch height, 2-inch reach advantage on Jeff Neal. Shavkat Rakhmonov has been unbelievable. Like the true definition of unbelievable. It is hard to believe that he has been untouched as he has through his UFC run thus far. Nothing has been hard for him. He has not been troubled. He's walked through every fight. I just feel like if you are picking against him at this point, you're just doing it to be a contrarian, as good as Jeff Neal is. And as much as maybe it could happen and you look smart, I don't see how you actually make that pick. I think you have to go Shavkat here. Jeff Neal, I don't want to say, the guy's in the best form he's probably been in the UFC thus far. He looked fantastic in his last fight against Vicente Luque. He's peaking, but I think he is running into a guy who he cannot beat. I think he's going to get out-grappled. I really don't know how he can keep Shavkat off him as much as he needs to win. And it's not like Shavkat is weak in the striking. Like, he may friggin' beat Jeff Neal there, for all we know. He may not even need the grappling. That's how good he's been. So, you got to go with him. I think this should be his toughest fight on paper. I'm very interested to see if we feel like, oh, shit, it's kind of competitive, or if he just walks through another one. That I feel like that's the biggest intrigue here for me, but I'm going to go with Shavkat Rakhmonov round 2 submission.
Omar.
I think it's hilarious. Like, if you're not going for for Rachmanov, just not getting it, just not there. I'm gonna go with Rachmanov here. I don't really have a problem with Jeff Neal. He's just slightly underwhelming a lot of the time. A good finish in his last fight for sure, especially against a guy like Luque. Luque is not an easy fight on any day of the week, so definitely a fantastic performance there. Ponzinibbio fight was a close fight. I want to say particularly because Jeff Neal let it be a close fight. I feel like there were moments where he could have stepped on the gas and didn't. Anyway, Rachmanov, like Mark has been saying, has been absolutely spectacular. His performances have been really stellar, stand out for sure. And I think it continues here, man. I think Jeff Neal is going in there with a lot of confidence, a lot of feeling that he's better, he's put in the work and all that stuff, and I think that that's fair. But I think Rachmanov is just on a different level right now. We could all be very wrong, very possible. I don't think we are. I'm going to go with Rachmanov by KO round 1.
I can't, I'm honestly surprised the odds aren't similar to what they were for, who was it? For Bo Nickal.
Bo Nickal? That would be too disrespectful to Jeff Neal.
But it's Jeff Neal. It's true. It's Jeff Neal. He's so fucking good. He just came out. He just knocked out Vicente Luque. God. It is impossible to go against Rachmanov in this fight. Look, if I'm betting, sure, put a little bit of money on Jeff Neal because Jeff Neal's super good welterweight. But it's Shavkat, man. The guy is untouchable, and he's like one of these like unassuming looking guys.
Yeah,
I mean, he's from Kazakhstan. He doesn't speak a syllable of English. He's kind of just tall and skinny guy, but it's unbelievably efficient and strong grappler. He's great striking. He's just good everywhere. And how will he win? Don't know. I think he's gonna. It's just like pick it out of a hat. He's gonna knock out Jeff Neal, and I'll say he's gonna knock him out in round 2. Seems like a safe pick as far as Rachmanov goes. Okay. Man, this card's great. What a great card. What a great main card.
Yes, it is.
Great overall card. Co-main event time. Women's flyweight. Title fight. Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko taking on Alexa Grasso. So Shevchenko, the 34-year-old out of Bishkek, Kazakhstan. No, Kyrgyzstan. She's 23-3 as a pro. Of those 3 losses, she's only lost to 2 women, whose names are Amanda Nunes, and Liz Carmouche. She lost to Carmouche many, many years ago, and has lost to Nunes twice now. Both of those fights were very, very close.
And the Carmouche loss was a fight she was winning where she got cut and it was stopped.
Oh, that's right. Was that in the UFC?
Nope. They rematched in the UFC, and she beat Liz. I think it was in a kind of no-name organization, if I'm recalling.
C3 Fights.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Anyhow, she is 23-3. Of her 23 victories, 8 have come by knockout. 7 have come by submission. She's on a 9-fight win streak since her last split decision loss to Amanda Nunes. Most recently, a split decision win over Tyler Santos. She'll be standing across from the new challenger at women's flyweight in Alexa Grasso, the 29-year-old out of Jalisco, Mexico. She is 15-3 as a pro with 4 knockouts and 1 submission win on her record, 10 decisions. She is riding a 4-fight win streak coming into this Saturday night. Mark, let's start with you again. Give us your take and your pick. Shevchenko versus Grasso.
All right, Shevchenko is minus 750 as the favorite. Alexa Grasso is plus 550 dog.
Wow.
They are the same size. I do like Alexa Grasso. She's very talented. I've never been able to believe that she is elite. and I still don't at this point. I even look at who she beat to get here. It's a 4-fight win streak, and it's Ji-yeon Kim, Macy Barber, Joanne Wood, Viviane Araujo. I mean, some solid fighters in there, but there's no one that makes me scream about how good Alexa Grasso is. I get people wanting to like nail the time Valentina loses, especially after we saw some vulnerability maybe in the last fight. And Grasso can box her ass off, so who knows? But I don't see it. I don't think it's the right matchup for someone to beat Valentina. I think that Grasso is durable and can probably hang around, but I think Valentina is better everywhere, frankly. I think she packs more power. I think Grasso is going to be eating kicks at all different levels throughout the fight. And when that's happening, I think her boxing is a little less effective. And if it ever was competitive in the striking, I think Valentina would just clinch and go to the grappling and handle it there. So I think there's too many avenues for her. I don't think Grasso has enough. My debate is, does Grasso last all 25? I will say yes. I will say Valentina UD.
Omar.
That's also where I'm at, to be honest. I think Grasso is an elite, but I just think Valentina Shevchenko is such a level above a lot of the women in that 125 division that the gap is just very wide. I do think Grasso is going to have a hard time touching Valentina. Valentina has a lot of beautiful movement in and out, a lot of strikes that go along with it, inside leg kick, outside leg kick, fucking heel kicks if she feels the need to, axe kicks, anything to go out and then back in with a little bit of... with something for them to think about on top of it. So I do think that Valentina is going to come out on top. I don't think she'll be able to finish Grasso just because Grasso is a tough opponent. I don't know if Valentina is going to be able to get hands on her as far as on the ground is concerned. I don't think Grasso would probably want it to go there, so I don't really see... I don't see the need for Valentina to have to take it down there in the first place, so I don't think we'll end up there. But I think Valentina wins by unanimous decision.
So both of you taking Valentina by UD. I love Valentina Shevchenko. She's one of my favorite fighters, period, not just one of my favorite female fighters. She probably is my favorite female fighter. I'm just so impressed with her every time she fights. She's just so technical. She's just so technical. She packs great power for the weight class. She's a tremendous grappler. She's very strong on the ground. She's heavy on top. I see her finishing this fight. I think I see her winning mostly on the feet. And if Grasso sees any light of day in striking, I see Valentina securing a takedown and working from the top. And I see her tiring Grasso out and bringing Grasso to places that she's really never been. And I see her getting a ground and pound finish. I'll say round number 4.
Like it.
Okay, boys.
I'm
I'm not drinking any alcohol tonight. But if this was, I would take a swig right now.
I will drink water with you.
So we're going to discuss now the return of John Bones Jones, challenging now for the heavyweight title in the UFC, the vacant heavyweight title against Cyril Gane. John Jones has fought his whole career at 205 pounds and is widely considered by most to, at this point in time, be the greatest of all time in mixed martial arts. Effectively undefeated. Say what you want to say about his loss to Matt Hamill. I do not view that as a loss at all.
No.
Undefeated at 205 pounds. At the time that he was in it, it was a tremendous division filled with incredibly talented fighters, and he just closed out the whole division. And he beat everybody, and he beat everybody pretty handily. Only in his last few fights, because he keeps kind of going in and out of the UFC, has he looked not stellar, not incredible, not like a world beater, but he still came away with victories against Anthony Smith, against Thiago Santos, against Dominic Reyes. Formally putting it, Jones, 35 years old, out of Rochester, New York, 26-1 with no contest as well. That now contest as well was a fight that he won, and it got overturned because of, I believe that was the whole picograms incident.
Correct.
Of his 26 wins, 10 have come by knockout or TKO. Add 6 to that have ended by submission. And his last fight was a unanimous decision over Dominic Reyes back in February of 2020. So quite a long layoff for Jon Jones. And just a real quick tangent, I thought of this before, I want to say before I forget. I haven't been able to find this out. I would love for this to be a trivia question. So if anybody knows what resource to check online, let me know. What is the longest number of days between UFC fights? And meaning like between consecutive fights in the UFC. The longest number of days. Okay. Jones' opponent standing across from him on Saturday night will be the former title challenger Cyril Gane Bongamin out of Paris, France, 32 years old, 11-1 as a pro, 5 knockouts, 3 subs. Challenged for the belt against Francis back in January of 2022 in a losing effort. He lost by unanimous decision, falling victim to the grappling of Francis Ngannou, not the strikes. And then he got right back in the win column in very impressive fashion, knocking out Tai Tuivasa in the 3rd round in their fight this past September. Okay, Omar, final one of the night. Start us off here. Give us your take and ultimately your pick of Jones versus Gane for the vacant heavyweight belt.
So like I alluded to before, I'm still not sold that Jon Jones will make it to the octagon. But if he does, on paper, I think Jon Jones has every tool imaginable to beat Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane is a great striker, but if this was a kickboxing match, I think we'd have a different outlook on this fight. But the reality is Jon has a lot of different avenues that he can take here that don't require him getting beat up first and having to take a bunch of strikes. Him even catching a kick would do it. You know what I mean? And we know Cyril Gane likes to throw his kicks, his long range kicks. Takedowns, I think, are going to be plentiful. Ground control, I think, is going to be evident. And I think we see the elbows of Jon Jones again return, hopefully, in true Jon Jones style from the salivary position or the crucifix position, for those of you who both names work. So I'm going to go with Jon Jones. TKO, round 1, the return of the GOAT.
Round one.
Dude, I think he fucking smokes Cyril Gane. I honestly think he goes in there. I think it's really going to be a y'all must have forgot. I think he's got a lot more muscle on him. I think he could have lifted Cyril Gane before he went to heavyweight. And I think now that he's got real power that's planned, thought out, that he's essentially taken fucking 3 years to build on properly. Like, if you can't sun Cyril Gane, I don't know what we're doing.
Mark, what are the odds for this fight?
So, interestingly enough, they actually started the opening odds with Cyril Gane as the favorite.
Wow.
When the fight was first announced. I forget what it was. It was maybe something like Gane minus 140, Jon plus 110, something like that. They have now shifted the other way. You said you wanted to guess, Omar?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, the bookies are about to fucking lose a lot of money. That's a weird flex there.
Well, no, that was the opening. They are not that currently.
I know. I wonder how much money came in before they were like, I wonder who fucked up this line here. I'm gonna go with Jon. I'll go with Jon minus 220, Cyril plus 175.
So it's not that big. Jon is minus 165. Gane is plus 140.
Sure.
Oh, it's a lot closer.
So, despite the move up to heavyweight, Jon Jones, not shockingly, I guess, still the longer man. He will have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. They are the same height. Going to be awesome to see Jon Jones back in a cage. Knock on wood, assuming we get there, and assuming this man enters a cage and crawls his way out to the middle of an octagon when the bell rings. It's going to be awesome, whether you're a fan of him or not. For a dude this good to be on the sidelines this long and finally come back is going to be pretty cool. And this is one hell of a high-profile fight to be doing it in. So I am pumped for this one, and I think Jon Jones is going to do it. I think he is going to become the heavyweight champion of the world. I think he may even be fairly active and start a run. I know that's very wishful thinking. We will see. But I will point out some reasons why Gane is interesting. Obviously, we know he's unreal on the feet. His movement is silly. His grasp of striking with every limb is silly. He's maybe faster than half the light heavyweights that Jon Jones has fought throughout his career. Maybe even more than that. Like, he's that fast. We always say he's a heavyweight that moves like a welterweight. Yeah. He is a big, strong dude. Maybe the strongest Jon Jones has fought, most likely.
That's true.
He packs more power than you think he does, because a lot of times he is not throwing full power shots, but when he does, he'll hurt you.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Someone with the range of Gane, who can move like him and who stays, I think, as composed as Gane is in all exchanges, I think does present a real challenge for Jon Jones. I think Gane is going to try to kick the fuck out of Jon Jones' legs, probably calf kicks, so there's a little less of a risk of him getting grabbed for a takedown. As big as Jon Jones has gotten, his legs don't look terribly different. They still look like little chicken legs, and Cyril Gane has some fucking tree trunks, so I'm sure he's going to try to be slamming them into Jon Jones' calves as much as he can. And it's probably going to feel like nothing Jon Jones has felt before. I mean, maybe in training, but at least not in a fight. I think Gane also gets to really focus on the takedown in regard to how he chooses to manage range, because I don't think he feels like he's necessarily at risk of getting hit with a one-hitter quitter from Jon, considering he's been in there with guys like Ty and guys like Ngannou, and it hasn't happened, and Jon doesn't really carry that same X factor. So I think that helps Gane. But as I said, I was presenting why I think Gane is interesting. I don't think it ends up guiding him to a victory. As much as I want to give a big detailed breakdown on why Jon Jones wins, it's just the wrestling. I think he is going to out-wrestle Cyril Gane. Francis Ngannou out-wrestled Cyril Gane. I don't see how Gane could possibly close that gap this quickly, not only to get to Ngannou's wrestling level, but to get a million miles past that to get to Jon Jones' wrestling level. I think Jones is really motivated, which people wondered late in his 205 career of how much he really was into it. I think you can tell now that he is really into this opportunity to re-announce himself as the GOAT, to become the heavyweight champ, to be a two-weight champ. I think he is so smart that if anyone can figure out how to do the dance in there with Cyril Gane, it's him. I know sometimes he doesn't come out with the wrestling in a lot of these fights, and he kind of likes to play and feel things out. He has been talking up the wrestling nonstop in every interview, so I would like to believe he is going to come out and use it. And if so, I just don't think he can be stopped. I think he has success with the wrestling. I think once he does, that can even open some things up on the feet. And I think he eventually takes Cyril Gane out. I will not say it is as quick as Omar thinks. I'll say it takes, some moments and some strategy and some grinding Gane out a bit. But I will say by round 4, we get a ground and pound TKO win for Jon Jones.
Wow. Oh, man. Yeah. There are some things that make this fight more interesting. That's not quite the right word that I'm trying to say. Compelling? No. I'll say interesting. That being Jones's inactivity. He's been out of competition for 3 years. His drug use, his lifestyle that is apparent, his shenanigans out of the ring. And then paired with Gane's, his attributes, his striking prowess, his size. He's 6'5", around 240, 250. he's a really big guy who's going to stand eye to eye with Jon Jones, even though Jones is going to have still a longer reach. But yeah, it's just skill set, man. I think Jones is probably thanking the UFC gods for giving him this matchup for his first matchup at heavyweight, handing him the heavyweight belt basically, with a very favorable matchup for him, a guy who has very little wrestling ability and experience, who lost a decision because he got out wrestled by Francis Ngannou. Jon Jones is probably licking his chops, and he's going to be wearing a singlet coming out to the octagon on Saturday. And I don't see him getting a finish. I think it's going to be partly because of Gane's size and durability and activity on the ground, trying to avoid submissions, trying to get out of positions. But I have a little bit of a wet blanket take on this. I think it's going to be somewhat of an uneventful, anticlimactic main event. We're just going to see Jon Jones wrestle fuck Cyril Gane to the heavyweight title.
God, I hope that's not true, man.
Because let me just add one more addendum to that. Cyril Gane is not the guy, and I hope I'm proven wrong. I really do. And then another person in the comments is going to be like, worst take on a fight ever in hindsight. I don't think Cyril Gane is the heavyweight to give Jon Jones a fit. I think there is one man, and his name is Curtis Blades, who I would want to see match up against Jon Jones.
I will say I do see a lot. I think John Styles on him. I don't think this is going to be boring by any respect. I think, look, when Ngannou went to take down Gane, it was basically just double legs. Like literally wrestling 101, grab him below the ass, like try to clench his knees together, get your hands clenched, pull out kind of takedowns, right? Jon Jones will suplex a motherfucker, like from a position he really shouldn't be able to. There's not a ton of guys out here in the MMA world specifically who can throw a man a lateral drop from double overhooks. No underhooks on a throw. There's maybe a handful, if that, of men who can do that currently in all of MMA. Jon Jones is one of those men. Like, I see this man, I see it being WWE potentially in the first 3-4 minutes of a lot of Cyril Gane getting his ass slammed, trying to get back up, getting wrecked again, getting back up, until he gets to a point where Jon Jones has gotten a position on the ground that Cyril Gane is not comfortable being in, doesn't know how to get out of it, and Jon Jones is going to rain down almighty hell on his face. I think that's just really what it's going to end up being, man. I think, like Mark said, he's motivated. He's got a reason to style. He's got a reason at this point to prove to everybody that Cyril Gane doesn't belong in there, that the heavyweights of that division don't belong. And I think he's going to show out. I hope he does.
Are you rooting for Jon Jones?
I'm not rooting for Cyril Gane.
You're not? Why not? What's wrong with Gane? He's a nice guy.
He's boring, dog. He's not a fighter. Not a fighter. He's a boring personality. For me.
I was gonna say,
Sorry.
let us not forget the way Cyril Gane came out in the Tai Tuivasa fight compared to his prior fights.
100%.
That Cyril Gane was suddenly aggressive as fuck. And if he can come out like that in this fight and maybe clip Jon a little bit early and get Jon thinking like, oh fuck, like that hurt. That was a big shot.
Yeah, but
know.
unlike Tai Tuivasa, there is no reaction in any bone of Tai Tuivasa's body where he ducks under for a double leg in response to any shot.
Correct.
Jon Jones
trying to build it.
Jon Jones might take a shot or two before being like, fuck that. And he goes right for a double leg, and we never see Gane standing upright for the rest of the fight.
Yes.
Like,
another interesting aspect that could kind of complicate Jones's wrestling is that Gane is not a conventional striker. Especially for heavyweights. That man is a long-range missile thrower, and he might not be there for Jones to grab.
he might also have power now.
Very elusive.
He might have power now. Like he's been training. He's a big boy now.
Oh yeah, man.
he might actually have found a right hand. It's totally possible.
Are you talking about John?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Can't wait for this one.
Imagine we got like a right hook knockout for John Jones on the feet.
Imagine this man
out
throws an
Cyril Gane.
overhand and Cyril Gane just goes face down.
Yeah. Be crazy.
Yeah?
Crazy.
No, definitely not.
Gonna happen.
I'm telling you, man, I see elbow galore from the bottom. Like,
That's
if it
what I
were
think.
me, I know
Elbow
for a
ground
fact Cyril Gane, if he gets onto crucifix bottom, is not getting up. He's not getting up. 100%. I will put money on that. He's not getting up.
It's too heavy.
I'm seeing half guard, big posture up elbows. That's how I envision my finish.
Part of it is potentially the size, Mike, but realistically, Gane doesn't know how to get out of a position like that with a guy in John Jones who seemingly mastered a salivary position early on in his career when he was before he was a champ. I don't see it, man. I
I'm
just
picking
don't see
Jones
it.
too.
Oh, Omar, you better hope this ain't close because you are fucking confident.
If it is close, it's because goddamn John Jones did nothing. It's because John Jones was still doing this Dominic Reyes fucking performance, this Oven St. Preux performances, like where he does just enough to get by and doesn't really like. If we're talking about a John Jones that is motivated, that is out there, that is kill or be killed, that is on one on Saturday, I expect wholeheartedly John Jones to go out there and murder Cyril Gane.
But we also know his history. We know that there have been many times that he has not even been motivated, and he still goes out and murders guys.
I agree. I mean, he at least goes out there and beats guys. You know what I mean? The Dominic Reyes one, I think, might be the only one that was like maybe arguable as far as the actual decision.
I still scored that fight for him as close as it was.
Yeah, but there are arguments that could be made. I think everybody else there, it's been pretty clear otherwise, including the actual loss he has on his record.
Well, hey, guess what? It's not 1 a.m., and we're pretty much done. Do you want to hear some trivia?
Yeah.
I do. Can I add one last note on John Jones?
Please.
I keep adding notes to try to make this fight interesting. The person, in my opinion, who gave John Jones the most trouble of his entire run was Thiago Santos. And I think that Thiago Santos is the most similar person John Jones has ever fought to Cyril Gane.
Oh, that's true.
I thought that fight was closer than the Reyes fight.
Or Gustafsson?
Huh?
Or Gus won?
Or Gus won, I guess.
I don't even know if I hold Gus one now in that crazy ass regard because he got wrecked in the second one, and we all know that John Jones was basically coked out of his mind or whatever it was before the fight. So there's so many asterisks in this guy's career. It's so crazy to me.
It is, man.